Amanda Fitzpatrick is standing by this morning with a special guest who's here to tell us about King's message in the 21st century. Amanda?
That's right. Good morning, Amyville. And you know, the old saying goes, if you don't know where you're going unless you know where you're coming from. And Professor Damon Fordham, who's the African American Studies professor at Springfield College, you know, as people are putting down their coffee and they're heading out today, when you think about the message, what can they take from what King said in that speech?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that he made more than just that major speech and did more than just integrate bus counters and the like. He also went on to encourage the nation to get away from such things as war and poverty at a time when it was very unpopular to do so.
Okay, and the message continues. And I have to tell you that, you know, Senator Robert Ford spoke on Monday about King and the state of race relations, and this is what he had to say about the dream.
Now we are more individuals than group. We're more concerned with ourselves. There was nothing selfish about King's life. If he could give his life to bring us this far, then we should be willing to give our life to bring America further and bring the world further. And that's what his whole legacy should be about.
Professor Fordham, what do you think about that? Do you think it's an individual state of mind within the black community?
Well, it's gotten to that because you had one issue in those days unifying African Americans, the issue of segregation and also the right to vote. And now that those things are accomplished, you have different members of the African American community wanting different things. So there is that lack of cohesion that you had at that time.
Okay, and I have to mention here, you're an avid King collector, as I call it, and I say that because you've got stuff that dates back. Talk a little bit about this right here, this record that you have.
Right, if you saw the movie Dreamgirls, you probably saw this album. And this is an original album of speech, the original I Have a Dream speech that he did in Detroit long before the one that was done in Washington, D.C. People don't know that the more famous one is actually the second. This is the original from the album he did in Detroit from Motown Records in 1963.
Okay, and that's the original. That is awesome there. And then when you look at this, you also have, and this is the music.
Right.
These are CDs.
That's correct.
Right, but they have a message.
That's right. This is one that he did in Shreveport, Louisiana in 1958, long before 1958, that you could hardly find today. The gentleman who recorded found it in his personal belongings just a few years ago and recently had it released.
Okay, and right here you've got a great picture that dates back and brings us back to Charleston. Talk about that.
Right, this was in Charleston on July the 30th, 1967. He's addressing the crowd over at the Charleston County Hall, and at the time this was taken, a light bulb had dropped from the balcony, but everyone was afraid that it was a shotgun of some type. But he was totally focused and remained fixated on the audience.
And talk about who's that in the picture.
That's a very young James Clyburn, who's now the majority whip.
Wow,
standing right there.
there.
And this is Herbert Fielding, the local undertaker.
Wow, awesome. Well, thanks again for bringing this great collection of work. Any last thoughts about what people can do today to really honor King?
Well, first of all, for young people, they should understand the message of nonviolence, because to end a lot of the killing that we see in the streets right now is a major thing they can do.
I understand nonviolence. Thank you so much for your wisdom and bringing this with us today. Back to you.
All right. Thanks, man.